Hello, everyone. My name is Rick Phillips, Communication Coach and Executive Director of NCCA Canada. That's the National Communication Coaching Association of Canada. Today, I'd like to talk to you about this question: what is a communication coach? Fair question. So let me see if I can help answer that. Let's begin with a couple questions. Number one, is a communication coach the same as a life coach? No. Can anyone become a communication coach? No. Is it true that beer helped me become a world famous communication coach? Yes. Let's dive into this one, okay? So, first of all, the industry now, there's a lot of communication coaches or communications coaches. They're in every country. It's a big industry, it's an exploding industry. So, let's talk about this. How did I get started? What's my background story? Well, a long time ago, and by that I say back in 2000, early 2000s, I was at a crisis, not knowing what to do with my career. I had done a few things, like I'd worked in an office, customer service, I had been overseas teaching English, a few things like that, and I didn't know what to do. I didn't want to continue doing what I was doing. I didn't want to go backwards, and I was stuck. So a good friend of mine, Paul, came and we went to a pub, the Pilot Pub here in Toronto, at Bay and Bloor, if you know it. And we sat and had a pitcher of beer and we tried to figure out my life. And after an hour or so, we had no answers. And so we left the pub. And on the way out, Paul just sort of slipped this little phrase that he had a friend who was a life coach making $100 an hour coaching people over the phone. And I remember this is early 2000s. Life coaching was kind of a new term. And I went, what? So we went back into the pub, ordered a second pitcher of beer, and we discussed it more. And then that night, Paul sent me a bunch of information, files on this whole world of life coaching. And I just jumped in and tried to figure out if this was for me. So what I discovered was that life coaching, generally speaking, is the idea that you have formulas that can help people move forward in a variety of aspects of their life. It could be financial, relationship and marriage. It could be health, etc. But one category stuck out for me, which was communication skills. So at the time, 30 something, I didn't feel like I could be an all encompassing life coach, but communication skills really, really stuck out to me in that category because I thought, oh my goodness, I'm a native English speaker. I was a very good English student and drama student when I was in high school, even for that matter. I taught English. Had real office experience, customer service. My background was at university, sociology and psychology. So to me, it kind of snowballed together. I'm like, this is something maybe I can do. And so I took a leap of faith. And because I was already very comfortable working with the professional working immigrants here in Toronto, who were looking to improve their skill sets in things like accent reduction, running meetings smoothly, presentations, Canadian culture at the office, etc. I thought that's a great entry point. So I hit the ground running. I registered the domain communicationcoach.ca in January 2006. I still have that domain. And to my knowledge, I was the first person to put those two words together. So I can't say that I was the first communication coach because there's been lots of people over history who've helped people with communication skills. Famous authors, scientists, Dale Carnegie, to mention just one off the top of my head. But I was the first person to put that term together. So when I started my business, at first people were asking me, what's a communication coach? And I would answer based on my experience, well, my interpretation of what I was trying to do, right? And so I like the hybrid style. And so I kind of coined this term hybrid style coaching, which is when you have the theories of life coaching with the traditional style of coaching that you might find in sport coaching, for example, where you're actually sharing information. The reason why I thought this was a good idea is because I did get my certification as a life coach and an NLP, neuro-linguistic programming practitioner. There's nothing wrong with that stuff at all. I love it. But I thought to myself, the feedback I was getting from the clients, especially in the office world, the professional world, was we don't want to have an endless coaching idea where each session we don't know what we're doing and we don't know if we're making progress, and they wanted some answers now. Now, I'm not trying to suggest that life coaches can't help you. That's not my suggestion. There are lots of successful life coaches who go into business and help them. I'm just saying that my perspective at the time and my feedback that I was getting from the clients that I was working with, they didn't want to wait to discover all the answers. They wanted some actual teaching. So because of my background as a teacher, I obliged. So my style developed as a hybrid style where I'm teaching and training some skills, techniques, theories, and I'm also allowing some exploration, asking powerful questions, which is part of coaching, and getting them to self-discover, self-assess all the time, and make sure it makes sense to them. So my general philosophy would be, here's the theory, let's practice it together, and then go and play in the sandbox of life and come back and we'll talk about it. So that brings us to the next question. What is a communication coach? It's not necessarily my definition, right? There are lots of people out there from different backgrounds. Some might have a background in theater arts. Some might have a background in corporate communications, leadership, HR. Some might have a background in anything really. It's about that coach deciding that they have the relevant skills, education, experience to help people. So remember before I asked 3 questions at the beginning, I said, is it the same as life coaching? No, it's not. There might be aspects that are similar to life coaching, but it's not the same. And can anyone be a communication coach? I don't think so, because I think you have to have some really good combination of your relevant skills, education, and experience. You can target a certain market, and you can maybe be successful in that market, and that's completely fine. For example, I had a lady I knew who was a well-known musician in an orchestra out in the West Coast. And she says, these people are coming to me all the time and asking me these questions about how to handle interviews or how to communicate in this way and that way. So I never thought about being a communication coach, but maybe that makes sense. Yeah. If you're already giving all this advice and suggestions, you're already helping people with the media relations, you're already doing this stuff, then that's fine. So you don't have to have this other background that someone else has. So it has to make sense to you. But if you're going to put yourself out there and you're going to try to help people with communications, it's important that you have some type of skills, education, experience. Can you gather that education? Yes, you can. Yes, you can. There's lots of resources, both free and paid, online, offline. There's schools, there's courses you can take, there's books, there's YouTube channels, podcasts, you name it. There's lots of self-study you can do to improve your skill set. Can you get certified? Yes, you can be certified as you like. Life coach, NLP coach, you can get certified in other certifications that make sense to you. Is there a communication coach certification? Yes, there is. To my knowledge, I was the first one to do it through my company called 3V Communications, which is a for-profit company different from NCCA Canada's nonprofit mission. And that's been going on for a few years. And NCCA Canada also can offer a communication coach certification as well as a communication coach designation. So that's just a little plug for NCCA Canada. But the main goal of this video is to kind of answer this question, what is a communication coach, right? For those of you that want to be a communication coach, I would just ask you to consider a few things. What do you have going for you so far in terms of momentum? Again, relevant skills, education, experience. Maybe you're already halfway there. If you're a complete beginner, ask yourself what resources might be useful to give me confidence to go forward with this, right? There are different styles of communication coaching. If you like one-on-one, which is similar to tutoring or counseling or mentoring, that might be something you want to do 100% of the time or 50% of the time, 70% of the time, it's up to you. If you like kind of teacher style, classroom style, you might like corporate training, workshops, whether they're public workshops that you host and advertise and bring people to you, whether you advertise to a company and you say, I want to come in and train your team. There are keynotes, which are a little bit more money for less time of work. You have to be really good when you go into the company or the organization's events and you give this keynote, which could be 20 minutes to an hour, depending on the style. You could author books, whether ebooks, articles online, whether a quote unquote real book that's in the bookstore. You could do that if that's in your wheelhouse. You can create online courses if you don't want to do a lot of face-to-face with people. You could choose to do face-to-face or Zoom calls or whatever it might be. So there's a lot of options for you to consider. What do you want to do? What's your comfortable feeling of doing coaching versus training versus online, in person, et cetera, et cetera. And then if you're going to run it as a business, you're still going to need some business training and all that stuff, learning how to be an entrepreneur, which is really fun. But in general, that's my suggestion for the broad term. What is a communication coach? And can anyone be one? And does beer help? I think it does. Okay. If you need more information, or you'd like more information, please contact us at NCCA Canada, info@nccacanada.org. We'd be happy to share information, or you may absolutely add a comment to this video and let us know your questions or your experience. Maybe you are a communication coach. You want to share your experience, how you got started, or your challenges. Maybe you're interested in the field. Maybe you're interested in hiring a communication coach. Well, by the way, a common question we also get is about salary and money. How much money does a communication coach make? It's all over the place. I got to be honest with you. There are some people that are doing it part time, that maybe they don't need money. Maybe they don't have that feeling that they need to command a lot of money. Some people do a volunteer. Some people really want to make a go of it and make it their business. I would say, just off the top of my head, based on the industry, is, I mean, if you're doing coaching, which is kind of like a consulting, your minimum charge should be $100 an hour. That would be what I would say, like a minimum baseline when you're thinking about either charging per hour, you're thinking about putting packages together, you're thinking about your time. So can you do lower than 100? Of course you can. And new coaches want to get experience. You want to get some feedback. You can absolutely give it away for free or for low cost, because the exchange is, I need feedback. I'd love to have your feedback or your testimonials, because I'm building my brochures and my online presence, etc. So there's nothing wrong with doing it for lower costs in the beginning while you're trial and erroring your business. But at some point when you're secure, the minimum, looking at $100 an hour for, if you're going to look at hourly. Many coaches use packaging systems where they're looking at selling 1 month, 2 month, 3 months, 6 months, a year, that type of style. So they're, depending on how much the person signing up for, they'll offer a set package. One thing I've heard, for example, is $1,000 for 1 month, $3,000 for 4 months, 6,000 for 5 months, 10,000 for a year. Again, these are just some ideas I'm throwing out there. It would depend on what you're offering, if you have good value add, if you are comfortable with all this stuff. But it's something to think about. You can find out, doing some market research. What is your industry peers? What are they charging? And again, for coaching versus training, are you going to work in the nonprofit sector and charities? Are you going to work in the for-profit? Are you going to go after governments, corporations? There might be different rates of pay that they can pay. But it's all good if you're feeling that you have a calling and you want to help people and you've got some skills. Go out there and help. Whether you're getting nothing as a volunteer or whether you're making millions of dollars, it's all good. So that's another common question that we can discuss as well. Okay, thank you very much for watching this video. Please like and subscribe, and if you need us, let us know. Bye for now.